This podcast is based around the history and experiences of the infamous Shane Bugbee, recollected and retold by Shane Bugbee himself. Who is Shane? Well, you're about to find out. I'm your host, Nannerl, and this is Speak of the Devil.
Today we're going to talk about the women in your life, Shane. When I say the women in your life, I'm talking about mostly pasts. I remember a little ago you were talking about a woman in a thrift store helping you out with something. Let's start out with that. That's quite recent, quite
okay.
Random.
You know, it's like that was I don't know when we spoke about that, if it was on a podcast or in our personal conversations, but I had just lost everything and ended up on the beach in Long Beach, Washington. And I had quit talking to people. I mean, like, you would be surprised because I talk a lot, but I quit talking. And I was just making sculptures. And I would go to the thrift store to get broken things to make sculptures with. And, you know, it's sort of, this was where it became somewhat clear that some people can see your pain. Or they can see, I don't want to say abuse, but they can see that you have issues like deep, sorrowful pain, maybe. And it's like when I say some people, I've never met a man that knows it. Only women. And so it's like this lady kicked right into her nurturing power or something like that. It's something I don't get from men ever, but maybe it's possible. But I don't know. But this is my experience throughout life. I just realized, wow, people can see the abuse or pain or torment in my face, and some people are predatory about that. And those can be women too. But anytime I've gotten this nurturing feel or hand, it's been from a woman, and she was like, hey, there's a shirt over here. They were just dropped off. It would look so good on you. I know it would fit. And I sort of grunted, and she touched me, and I moved away, and she goes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch you. And I was like, I started to come out of my stupor, and I said, oh, it's okay, show me the shirt. And she showed it to me, and she goes, it's really an expensive, like these people, this person, I know these people, and this is a really high-end shirt. It's like only $2 for you, but it's, you know, so I'm like, I'll take it. And I took the shirts, they looked really good on me, and she held them up and cared, like, look at, you know, how you hold it up to someone, how you hold up clothing to see how it looks. And she said, come here, look in the mirror. So she took all this time and saw me and was kind to me. And that makes a world of difference in my life. I think in anyone's life that's, you know, needs that nurturing touch. You know, I don't think I had that nurturing touch a lot when I was a child.
When we think of nurturing, we typically think of it as a feminine emotion, I think. So whether or not it's true that it's always women who do it or not, I think that there is sort of an assumptive default.
I should make it clear. I should make it real clear, is also the homosexual community. Mm-hmm. That has been nurturing to me when I was living on the streets, and there was no trying to groom me. There was nothing, you know, there was nothing like that. Like we have a Boys Town in Chicago. It's the first government designated gay neighborhood. They put up rainbow street lights. So when I was living in a car, I'd go there because there was a store there, 99th floor, and I'd hang out there. It was a fetish store, like, but not accoutrements for sex, but just boots, cool boots, and cool leather jackets, and that's where all rock stars went. Like, I'd be there, and the guitarists from Guns N' Roses would walk in when they were on tour to buy stuff. You know, just all the rock stars, when they came through town, they went to Mickey's 99th floor to buy stuff. So I loved hanging out there. And I was in my car, and people there really took care of me. So I shouldn't say it's only women, but there's something about the nurturing. I'm not calling homosexuals women either, but this neighborhood, a lot of people there that were, I would say, the feminine homosexuals versus their very brute leather daddies were very nurturing and cool to me. They were just loving and wanting to love. And I don't say that in a perverted way at all. It was nothing like that.
I think that within communities such as LGBTQA plus communities, there's the idea that, you know, you don't have to stick to who your family is. You know, you may not belong. And maybe it being such one of the oldest gay communities, perhaps the idea of being birds who fell out of their nests and then the other birds scoop them up and put them in their nests.
Boy, that is so fucking awesome of an analogy or observation, or that is perfect, because that's exactly how it felt. It was like a bunch of outsiders, just like when I went into the metalhead scene, punk rock, underground, hardcore metal and punk rock. It was the same with that. It was like a bunch of outcasts that sort of got together. And you do this mosh pits is what people would call them. You know, you'd circle pits and stuff. And back in the day, if you fell down, people picked you up. And then this underground dance made it onto MTV. And then it all changed. People thought it was a wrestling match. People from the suburbs would come out and want to fight in chaos, you know, and it all changed when it hit the above ground, and it was never the same.
Very much like other subcultures, when they're not on TV, there is a unsaid bond between people. I felt that way about a lot of people who attended Burning Man back in, you know, who are OGs of Burning Man. And you hear about tech bros who go to Burning Man now who treat it like Disneyland. And it's not the same story. They're excluding people rather than including. So, and then same with club scenes that are influenced by club kids are sort of that way too, such as the LA goth and fetish scene, who, you know, have club kid fingerprints all over it. But in the past several years, there's been a lot of vanilla influence into it because of, you know, people see it on LA Weekly or whatever, so they go out, and the Weekend Warriors kind of change it up as well. And it's kind of the same thing. The creeps come out to the fetish clubs and then, you know, cause problems and then give it a bad rap of being a place to get groped or something like that.
Right.
I found the same sort of bonds with strippers, sex workers. The idea of we're all outcasts, we're all here for a reason kind of idea. I found similar nurturing bonds with women who have served time. One cultural influence I think that's quite prominent that for myself sometimes stands out with women who are nurturing are women who come from backgrounds where the mother is looked upon as nurturing, such as Hispanic, Italian. A lot of women who grew up with single mothers are like this as well. And I don't particularly think that all women carry that quality. I've been told I'm quite curt and cold, for example. Whereas, and it's hard for me to imagine women who look like me to be nurturing in the same way that Hispanic women, Italian women, Black women have been to me.
Well, I think it's very much, I think the general things on that stuff probably don't work out ever. You know, like it's probably just a character of person, because I've seen and experienced your cold-hearted, bloodthirsty side, and it's rare, and it's you know, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that, you know, it's rare.
Listeners, you should know we're recording this on Christmas Day, and I'm just thinking about all that coal I had to put into my dumpster today that Santa brought me for my cruel heart.
You are a wonderful person, and you've been very warm to me, and you helped me get through this year with, I think I wrote you a note about with dignity and creativity, and it was really great. So you I think you're just a serious person. You're a serious character. You take everything, every second of your life seriously. And I appreciate that. So there's no fucking around. And I like that. I mean, you know, and so I've dated a couple of Italian women, and they weren't nurturing.
Wow, really?
No, Italian women for the most part are known to be brutal, but then you'll find a character within them Yeah, they're mobsters. I mean, that stereotype exists for a reason. Like just the other day, my friend, and Carmi, we're going to talk about her. Her mom's like, I wish I knew someone that motherfucker'd be dead. Like she says that, like, and she's threatened. A guy came in to do his porch. She's like getting a quote from a guy, and she goes, "Don't you talk to me. If I had a gun, you'd be dead right now." This is Italian culture, like, and I'm not putting Italian culture down because I'm part of it. I'm just telling you my experience, and I've experienced a lot of Italian culture. Like it's not like I dip my toe in it. I live it.
I think maybe our perceptions of what's nurturing also contrasts a little bit, maybe what our needs are. For myself, that passion, that fieriness to me is love. That idea that you picked on me because you love me. And maybe it's me being fucked up, but I can think of so many women who fit into that, not just exclusively Italian women, but the idea that someone's going to kill someone because they're so mad tells me how far they will go. Yes! And to me, that's love and nurturing.
I agree. In our country, I don't know about other countries, but America, it's like just America. It's one big lot of land. And like someone, like I was on that interview and the person's like, explain what the underground was from the 90s. And I did. And then I got off the air and I want to tell them like, that's bullshit question because the underground in Chicago is different than the underground in Florida, different than the underground in the Bay Area, different than the underground in New York. We had different problems here. We have a Midwestern farmer mentality, different upbringing, all of that shit. So it's like we had different art that comes out of our regions. The regions in America are different. So I don't think you can put this blanket on America, like people do, and it's gross. It makes this stupid concept bigger than what it is. It's really a bunch of regions, and we're very different people. Like it's different countries, actually. And I get what you're saying. That's why I'm just saying, like, I've only experienced this nurturing quality. What has saved me. Uh-huh. And when I'm now 50, I could look back and think about certain religions that will call women the goddess, and I can see that I can see the feminine side of our beings because I believe in this duality of being the goddess, the nurturing, the one that gives life and takes life, but it's the goddess, and so I can see that very clear. In my life, because I've had the experience of I've had a full experience with women. I feel comfortable around women, but I've been victimized. I don't like to say victimized, but I've been treated. There have been women that have been very predatory in my life and have hurt me severely, scarred me. And then there's, on the other side, there's women who have helped me heal those scars. So it's, I would much rather deal with women on either side, the predatory I shouldn't say that. The predatory women are really brutal because it's more of a mind thing, and they don't need to get credit. They just need to kill you.
Oh man.
So it's like men have a guilt trigger. They need their ego fed. Like I killed 33 people. They start to make these stupid mistakes to get guilt ridden. No, women don't. They just put you down. There's a reason they have the Black Widow wife. They call it. There's a folklore of the Black Widow. Anyway, my point is that I was saved by more women. Predators are, a bad luck of the draw. It's bad odds. In general, people have been decent with me, and women especially. And, I've worked with almost exclusively women in all my creative projects.
Do you think perhaps you feel that women, you're more comfortable, or you notice that women pick you up when you're down more because perhaps men are still sort of learning how to get over toxic masculinity? Perhaps there's a pecking order involved with you as a man. When men step into the picture, it becomes competitive. I think you're right about that, and I relate to women on that toxic masculinity. I was very much
and I don't like to use the word abused all the time, but my father he was criminal abuse, I would say. The majority of people who saved me and put a warm touch out it was always women, or like I said, the gay community in Chicago, the feminist, like that side of the gay community was very compassionate to me. So that's where I would run to. Like some people, like, they teach you as a little kid, run to the police officer because of the uniform. Well, I seem to hang out with women and I'm able to communicate with them. I think we communicate well, don't we?
Usually.
Well, we do. I think so. You don't think so? Okay,
definitely.
I think we do.
I'm pulling your leg. Of course we do.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work together, so I think we do, and that the results are there, and so that's just, I don't know. That's my experience in life, and when you asked a question, I think, how do I see women, or if it's in the Catholic sense, or I mean mother. I think mother. How do I see a mother, right?
Yes.
Or how would I envision the perfect mother?
No. What I meant is your imagery of how a woman could be nurturing.
Oh, an image. I'm not really sure about that one. That's a good one. There's no physical image. It's a warmth or a vibration.
Okay.
That you get from that. And I think my grandmother had that. And that's.
There we go. There's the answer I'm looking for.
Oh, okay.
Ding, 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 ding. There was someone there. So I'm wondering now, maybe the women who have been the most nurturing toward you, perhaps they ring some resonance from those warm experiences.
Yeah, and it's not probably, but it's all in the feeling of a touch or a vibration. Like they let off a vibration where you're like, they're welcoming, they're open, and you go to them. It's not what they look like or their culture, because it's all different cultures. It's, like I was taken in by a black family when I was a runaway, and Joey Trice's mom was really nice, but it was a whole different world. She was nothing like my grandmother, nothing, but she was more open, like, let me feed you, let me help you.
So it's a sensory thing.
I think so. That's what I'm saying. It's definitely like a sensory.
And it's not necessarily the environment or the experience. It's that feeling of that you receive.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost, it's that exactly. And it doesn't, like you were saying earlier, like passion equals love to you. And they can have firm eyes and go, get the fuck in here and eat. The tone can be scary. You're right about that, but there's still a feeling of a vibe like Carmi has. Carmi, my first partner in crime, and I don't mean real crime like doing zines and stuff. She is a bull. She is a strong woman. She'll fucking knock you. She'll beat the shit out of someone. She's Italian, and I mean, I'll thank her, and she goes, "What for? I just told you. I just said something. I didn't do nothing." She'll say something firm like that to me. I'm like, yeah, just thanking you. Yeah, well, so for what? I'm like, ouch, sometimes. But Carmi is like, she would never let me or a lot of other people sleep on the street. To her friends, she's like, come on, you can sleep here. She takes care of people. That's her deal. Like, but she has that, she can be fucking scary and knock you down. She's a truth teller. She'll tell you exactly what she thinks. You smell. Get in the shower. I don't want to hang out with you. I
call those friends the mom.
Yeah. Oh, she's a bull. She's ready. She's just, anyway, tough as nails.
I think that's a very humble thing to say. If you're thanked and you say, for what? For what? You needed it. Get the fuck out of here. Kind of response of, why are you thanking me? And they're pleased. They're pleased. And it's such a backhanded thing that, like, it stings, but it's kind of like, you slapped me kind of thing.
I get, I love her to death. And, the best thing about coming back here, it was hard. Mm-hmm. She was one of the first people I reached out to. I said, I'm back in Chicago, but I can't see you. I can't see you until I'm ready to see you, until I can put a sentence together, until I'm, mentally a little more stable. I couldn't talk to anyone. But I reached out to her right away. And she's like, contact me when you're ready. And I did. And, you know, she was someone I met with and I needed to meet with when I came back here. No matter what happened, I was ready for all this pain. Like people say, you know, fuck you. But I needed to tell her, you know, after I spent weeks, and I know we're going to talk about the Me Too thing in another episode.
Yes.
But after I spent weeks submerged in that hashtag and reading all of this stuff, I needed to tell her that I saw her differently now. And I saw how I had a lot more expectations of her than I should have. And I want to tell her how thankful I was for everything she did for me, you know, where I may not have done that in the way that she deserved. Like I'm appreciative, but also men have these things on them where they're tough and they don't always, they're not able to have these feelings. And so I wanted to give her the feelings that I felt, give her that gift and let her know you really helped me out. And I really appreciate that. And so it was cool when I got back to see her. It was really nice.
So you and Ms. Carmy, how far do you guys go back? How way back?
Oh, 30 years. 30 years, maybe a couple more years, 32 maybe.
How did you guys meet?
I worked at a place now this was a politically correct phrase at the time, but I worked at Ray Graham's Home for Retarded Adults. And that's what it said on my check, retarded adults. And I worked there with Carmy's sister, Donna. Me and Donna eventually started dating. And me and Carmy started working together on a zine and stuff like that. So as me and Donna quit dating, me and Carmy really hung out a lot, like all the time. We just clicked. Just like when I came back, I didn't know what to expect, but we clicked. We're hanging out all the time. We click. We're just a good friend, you know. And a lot of guys don't understand you can be friends with women, you know, and just be friends, you know. So that's not always understood, I think. But me and Carmy are really great friends.
What kind of work did you guys do together working on a zine?
Okay, well, man, it was like, and we all had these flyers we'd hand out at concerts. And I was like, you know, we should staple these together and make a magazine like People Magazine. And Carmy's like, I can do that. You know, she was like, she works in an office. She's, you know, she's, you know, I can't explain her, but she would be an office manager. She's a high-end office manager. She can do everything. And so she's like, I can do that. And I've got a computer and let me lay it out. Let me help. And I'm like, yeah. And we just started going boom, 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 boom. And she laid down the groundwork, the groundwork where I could communicate to professionals, like press releases, stuff like that. All of those things. Here's a list of phone numbers for all the stores in Chicago. Let's hit, you know, like, I'm like, I need to know where all the Chicago stores are. And she'd go to make the data happen. She would make the data happen and spit out a sheet and give me graphs. And so I can go hustle ads and distribute magazines and give people a press release that communicated what I wanted in a professional way, not like I am trying to communicate right now, which is sometimes scattered and jumbled up and emotional. And so she laid down the groundwork for Michael Hunt Publishing. I mean, I did too. I mean, I had the vision. I had a lot of vision in there and I had a lot of ideas, but Carmy laid down this blueprint that was easy to follow without her. You know, like you know, sometimes you do so much that you're no longer needed. And I'm not saying she wasn't needed, but I could definitely do it at some point she did so much. It was like, oh, we're not working together anymore. I'm just going to take this stuff and keep going, you know, because she's not into cold showers and getting evicted. She's into working for a living. And, you know, I went on an underground route that was hard and she wasn't into that.
But she really, it sounds like she kind of worked as a liaison to the outside world. Like she spoke your language and she worked as a translator. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what a powerhouse to do all that work for you. That's really incredible work. So, yeah, thank you, Carmy. I wouldn't be working and I wouldn't be doing this stuff with you if it wasn't for you. So, thank you, Carmy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I owe her just everything. And that's what I came back to tell her. You know, you don't realize that when it's happening. You don't realize when you're, digging out and running at things. You don't realize it. But when you're able to look back, like being at my age is the age where I can look back and go, And I chose to walk backwards and tell some people that, hey, I hold you for this still. I don't, I want to talk to you again, but I still hold you I think you were mean to me, like talking to my mother. And I can tell Carmi, I owe her the world. And I thought, boy, you really did a lot for me. And for us, we worked together. It just didn't, we were, we were also dysfunctional. Like Carmi's like, also like, yeah, she speaks my language because she's real smart and professional, but she's like a biker. So, I've been in many wet t-shirt contests where Carmi would always win.
Way to go, Carmi. That's pretty cool.
You couldn't beat Carmi in a wet t-shirt contest ever. So
sounds like women we would refer to now in today as ride or die.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Down-ass girl.
Yeah. Me and Carmi would smoke a ton of weed, drink, take acid. So we experienced life so that when I look back, I can see these things like there's no way we could have made it. We were just into the pleasures of the flesh. We were into the fucking party. And the zine idea that I had that got us into rock concerts for free, got us in backstage, got us into the world that, we still have stories about it. Like, it's just like stuck with, it was a good time. But it didn't work out to make a living. I was sleeping on Carmi's couch. And that happened for quite a few years after me and Carmi worked together because it's just a hard underground art and all this stuff is not easy. It's not easy to blaze trails or be public with these unpopular opinions. It can be quite hard.
I understand that. When you guys went your separate ways, creatively, meaning it wasn't for her, was it on amicable terms?
Well, I don't really remember all of it. It's so long ago, and Carmi hasn't brought that up. I know that I just fucking say this because we're going to be talking about this in a couple more shows. But she basically said, my ex was a usurper, and she came in and fucked things up.
Okay.
And that's how Carmi saw it. I'm not arguing her experience, and I had a different experience.
Sometimes I think between women, when it's women and a man, sometimes the man might be blind to some of the nuances that other women see.
That I definitely see myself being blind to it. I was, and it's such a long story. That's a whole nother episode, but it was like I was groomed. I was taken advantage of, and this other person saw a publisher, saw a way out, saw something to be predatory about.
I see.
And Carmi wasn't predatory. She was nurturing, and we were having a good time. And
she was helping sculpt you, and the other person wanted their face on the sculpture.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Carmi helped to sculpt and help make dreams possible. She still does. She's just a wonderful person. Much like Miss Brandonizio, same neighborhood. Miss Brandonizio put me on her couch, Tony's mom. And boy,
Miss Brandonizio, let's talk about the Brandonizios here. Miss Brandonizio and her son Tony, how long have you known these people?
30 years. They're same neighborhood. They're all these Italians live in this.
Okay. So they all know each other.
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Cool.
And so it was a little clique that outsider me, I was an outsider. I was like just working there and met Donna and then met these folks. And my goodness, I haven't seen them in 25 years or something, 20 years, something. And, just to come back and say hi to them, it's like we're friends, like just from back then. Right. We just clicked automatically. And it's really a great feeling, and I really feel lucky as a human being that folks would take me back in as friends that took me in originally when I was an outcast. So it was just, they're good. They're really decent people. But Miss Brandonizio took me in and, you know, it's funny. Like she would do you got a point. I mean, I go, you grew up watching her read cards, man. And her cards were sometimes spooky. Cause I was total like, fuck that. Forget your bullshit cards. I didn't say it to her, Miss Brandonizio. I have nothing but respect for her. Mm-hmm. But I didn't believe it. And then I was like, damn, she's right. And boy, those are good. She would nail those cards down and she would sit and talk to me and like, it was almost like modern day when people say, be kind to yourself. She was like that. Because I was like, oh, I lost another job. And I'd go through 3 jobs in a week. And she's like, Shane, you're young. That's what being young is for. You can have 50 jobs in a year. And that's what you should have, because then you'll figure out what you want to be. The more jobs you have, the more you're going to figure out what you want to be in life. And I was like, oh, thank you. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But coming from where I came from, it was like, you're a piece of shit. You lose one job. You know, anything that they could use against you to be mean, they would in my family. So it was just so nice to hear these things from Miss Brandonizio, like that stuff. I was like, yeah, you know, you're right. I'm going to burn through jobs right now and figure out what I want to do with my life. You know,
yeah.
Here I am. And she's another one who helped sculpt me. That's why I was in plumbing. I could have been an apprentice plumber. My family was in plumbing and pipe fitting. And I was like, you know, I want to do these zines. I want to do this. I want to do something political. I want to make change. I want to do something philosophical. And I didn't know what philosophical was at that time, but I was starting to be challenged with the status quo and social norms and seeing how perverse they were. And so I was going after, like, Frank Zappa was the first person who turned me on to philosophy. But it was at the same time while this was happening. So Miss Brandonizio encouraged me to do this. And Carmi's like, yeah, let's keep doing this. This is opening up doors. Like, we can go party here, you know, and let's do this and let's drive. You know, we'd drive drunk. It was crazy. We had a good time. But they were encouraging me to go after life, where the other part of my life was go after death, be miserable, you know, like, ugh.
I wonder if that's a cultural influence. Italian culture has eating for fun, drinking for fun. There's a lot of enjoyment outside of work. There's play. And I wonder if that comes from old world beliefs that just stuck in family or something like that. I was about to ask you, what did the old Italian woman think of your beliefs or what you were about? But then you answered it with the cards, because I was about to ask if she was religious or anything, because when I think of older people, I think of them as sort of conservative, but obviously not. Obviously, this was...
Marie the bait shop lady, wonderful woman, lived next to me in Hammond. Marie the bait shop lady. She owned a bait shop in Hammond, Indiana, next to the railroad tracks. And I had a house 2 doors down. So very much like Miss Brandonizio, she was accepting of me because she could see my heart. Like I said, it was this non-tangible relationship. It was a feeling between us. It was a warmth. So I went to see Passion of the Christ with Marie the bait shop lady, and I go, what do you think? Was it violent? She goes, it wasn't violent enough. Christ suffered. And
I saw Passion of the Christ with a Catholic family who said the same thing.
Oh, that's great. Marie was heavy, like she was like, she'd get up and watch TV evangelists every day. And she'd smoke a cigarette while she watched. I'd go over there and hang out with her. She'd smoke her cigarettes and get a donut and put butter on her donut and watch this TV evangelist.
Oh, I want to go have buttery donuts with this lady.
Oh, she was great. But she, at that time, like Miss Brandonizio, I was myself as I am today.
Okay.
But I didn't have like a philosophical tear. I was just about free speech and stuff like that. I was just getting my claws sharp. But when Marie the bait shop lady met me, well, I had already, like hung out with LeVay. I was doing Radio Free Satan out of that place. There was people coming to visit me in the studio that were scary to the neighborhood. And she just loved me. And it was funny. There was a Jehovah's Witness that lived next to us too. And when she moved, this woman, when she moved, she came up to me the first day she came here, and I go, hey, I got to tell you, if we're going to be neighbors, you can't pitch the Jehovah stuff to me. And I'll just, we're just going to be neighbors. Like, hey, Sally, and you say, hey, Shane, but no pitching a religion. So we agreed. And when she left, the day she left, she goes, Shane, come here. She goes, you know why people hate you? And I started laughing my head off. I go, people hate me? I'm starting laughing like, I didn't realize this, but okay, why? And she goes, because you're always happy. You're doing what you like and you're always happy. And so she drives away. But Marie, the bait shop lady, I'm sorry. She was just accepting of me. Like, she was like, you're into that voodoo, whatever shit. I don't believe you're into it. I don't care. I know who you are. You got a big heart. I don't care what you scare people, and you're just trying to scare people. You don't scare me. Because I know about my religion's the right religion, and no one's going to scare me. Jesus is on my side. And I go, that's the way to do it. Like, if you're a Christian, I shouldn't be able to shake your faith. And Marie was right.
Jesus is just all right. Oh, yeah. Jesus is just all right with me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how Miss Brandonizia was. She was accepting of me as a human being. And warm to me as a human being. It wouldn't, it wouldn't have mattered what I said I was.
There's so many cultures who have folklore and views upon women as having a sixth sense or having good horse sense, good intuitions, sometimes mystical purposes. And I wonder if, especially older women, because they've been around the block, they've, depending on what their lives have been like, perhaps she, as well as Tony's mother, perhaps they both saw that you have no pretense. Maybe they have that ability to see that.
I feel like it was something like that for sure. When you said something about how do I see a mother or whatever, I keep thinking about that Crow. Mother is in the Crow, the movie The Crow. He says some quote where he's like, "Mother is the love or God. Mother is God to a child." And within that, the mother that's able to hear her son is gay and go, I love you no matter what you are, is a mother.
I was just about to mention how the mom typically sees the kid as gay before the dad and just totally
really?
sees it. Yes, it's more likely, I think, that the mom sees it and doesn't, like, either turns a blind eye or just doesn't bring it up because she knows how it'll pan out and just quietly supports it.
I see. So there where you talk, that intuition, I think, has to have something to do with pregnancy, raising a child, having to have a tuition to know, am I safe with my child? There is this mystical, like I say, I feel it. And I feel like all the women that have been cool with me accepted me for who I was, no matter what I was. They just loved me. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter what I espoused. It mattered who I was that was on an occult level, like unspoken. It was just like, I can see this guy's okay, even though he's trying to scare people or he's scaring people. He doesn't scare me. I'm okay. Like it's been that. And all those people have been able to get through to me in a way that nothing else has.
It sounds about right. I have been asked by you to mention a couple other women. I have a Lisa Brozig mentioned, and I was curious, who is Lisa Brozig?
Oh, Lisa. Lisa was she did a comic book for me called Dixie Do Me, but it's Dixie Do Me, and it was the first, and I published that comic with some Mike Diana comic books, and it was one of the first sexually explicit comics done by a woman. And she was chasing Dick throughout the comic, Dixie, and it was great, and we dated for a while, and she was the first artist I'd ever hung out with. Like, I was making things and trying to sell them and doing this stuff, but it's hard for the culture I grew up in. If you were to call yourself a piano player or an artist, you'd be called a faggot. And so I didn't call myself that, and I didn't see myself as that. I saw myself as a businessman making magazines and making some T-shirts to sell. But Lisa showed me what artist was, and it was fun, like having hot chocolate, drinking wine, painting, fucking eating too much garlic, painting some more, like getting paint on your clothes. It was just fucking great. That whole lifestyle. And she was just, now that I look at things going on around me, she was so ahead of her time, you know, such a great artist. And so she took me as an artist, and she would say, you're an artist and stuff like that. And I warmed up to that and that culture then.
So she was in the picture after Carmi.
During.
Okay.
And then after, yes. Somewhat like that. Yeah. And you know, Lisa is from a different, you know, she's from a peaceful, loving culture. And so there were some conflicts and, you know, like, you know, she wouldn't want to hear if I'm like talking about John Lennon, 1 down, 3 to go. She'd be like, oh, that's, you know, she's not into that. And so, but, you know, I don't know. She was another person who helped focus me, believed in me.
I think that bringing you into, like, if you imagine your life as a building, she was the elevator that brought you to the floor with the artists, and you got to you know, decide you wanted to hang out on that floor.
Absolutely. Working at the Bucktown pub, it was Christine Palmer. She was another one. That's where I met, like, this was a bar that I went to for an interview.
Uh-huh.
And they wanted me to be the editor of their magazine. Well, I don't know how to spell barely, so it's like sort of funny, but they wanted my spirit. and so I'm talking to these guys, and I finally get the gig. And Christine Palmer was Mike Johnson's wife or girlfriend. But without her, we would have never been able to publish stuff. Like, this is what I saw within that Me Too movement. Like, holy shit, like Christine Palmer did all this stuff and we got all the credit. And she never got any credit. Oh. And it was so bothered me so much that I eventually did a podcast. And when I was trying to do that stuff on Anchor, it turned out horribly. But I did speak about her in the Underground Comics Hall of Fame and say how this is a woman that made that happen that never got the credit. And so that's sort of like what with Carmi and Lisa or anyone, you know, when I came home, that was one of the goals, not only to get healthy mentally and physically and to start another era in my life, but to tell them I realized just how much they did and I want them to have their credit. You know, they didn't get a lot of credit, and I think it's solely because they were women. And not just because of me, but just as the culture. No one's listening, no matter what. Yeah. If I have Carmi next to me, they just saw me. Like, there was plenty of times when people were doing interviews and Carmi's right next to me. She'd get edited out. Or they would never ask her. I'm like, ask Carmi some questions. Because I'm you know, like, I'm like, why don't you ask her? They might, we'll ask her a couple questions and boring. And that's what I remember. And I didn't understand it at the time. I just thought, you know, I didn't understand it. And how could I? I'm not in that role. I'm getting the attention. I don't understand why she's not. But then when I read all this Me Too stuff, I was like, holy shit, this is like a regular deal? Like, this is fucking crazy. Like, this is crazy. Like, I don't accept that. I'm a person, credit where credit's due. Like, forget that. And so I want, you know, like right now, it gives me great happiness to be able to tell people, you know, that these stories for sure, because they deserve to be told.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I hear you saying this about what Carmi went through, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only creative female that that story resonates with. I feel that's, if I was in the room, I would be like, why the fuck aren't you asking her questions? And I would be ripping the person to shreds over it.
I definitely
and I think that you not recognizing it at the time is, you know, it's not something that should ever be put into your fault whatsoever by someone else or by yourself. I don't think so. I think that the fact that you see it now is very commendable. I
saw it and noticed it and didn't understand it. Like, I recognized it and tried to.
I understand. Okay, sorry.
Like, hey, talk to my partner here. Talk to my partner here. But to recognize, I saw something going on there. I recognized everything about it, but I didn't. You know, this women's history isn't written in history books like this. It was written on a hashtag by millions of women every nanosecond for weeks on end. Like, I couldn't fucking believe as Me Too unfolded. I sat there for 2 weeks and read it, and I know we're doing a show about that, but this is the precursor to that. Like, that blew my fucking mind up. I was like, wow, I thought I was studied and knew, and this is amazing what's unfolding. That was the most important, I want to say, book ever written in our span of life, human species. That is one of the most important texts ever written, and it unfolded on a hashtag. And so for me, when I read, I was like, wow, it's the most, I just was blown away. So I saw it happening and I tried to make justice with it, but there's only so much my pea brain can take in. And I'm also in a struggle. Like, I'm living in cars, on couches. So I'm looking to be predatory too. Like, I'm looking to make money. I'm looking to take advantage of things. So I can't think of everyone else's problems either. You know what I'm saying? So that if I could have been a person of a different class, I maybe could have been pondered it over coffee and hung out and smoked a cigar, you know, just hung out and had incense lit and thought about it. Maybe I could have come up with something then, but I was moving too fast to try to survive. You know, I was hustling, and when you're hustling, you're thinking about survival, and survival blocks out those kind of courtesies, you know, and stuff like that. But, you know, it's on the table now.
Yep.
I mean, when we did that Christmas story, you just put this Christmas story out, and you did so much amazing work, and I talked about it on the Star Wars show. But a couple people have given me compliments, and I said, "Oh, this wouldn't sound as good. Like, this is Nannerl's doing. I sound good because of her, because of what she did. This is her sculpting. I just was one of the elements in her sculpture. So I try to give that credit. I do. You know, I can't do much more than that."
Well, I appreciate you making, you know, trying to turn a lot of this around, making that change. And I have to pass forward that credit toward women like Carmi, women like Lisa, women like Chris Palmer, because, you know, they helped pave the way. I wouldn't be doing this podcast and doing this stuff with you if it wasn't for them working with you, things like that. You know, I thanked Carmi earlier, but, you know, thank you ladies again. You know, you really do deserve that credit where credit's due, and, you know, thank you. Good job.
Yeah.
So we're going to close out this episode with one final female for this episode. And this one kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier with nurturing, with, you know, what you start out with, even this crow reference about, you know, starting off with the mother. So you had your mother in your life, and then you say that you didn't speak to her for 13-ish years. What was your mom like?
This is
Here we go. Christmas Day. I said Christmas Day. Talk about mom.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, this is one of those things where, you know, I came back and I wanted to tell her that I hold her, you know, and I just want to be honest with this. And I think she's trying to respect my boundaries, and that's all I can ask of another person. And so she seems to be trying to respect those, and I appreciate that. I came back here to tell her that I still hold her accountable for the abuse that I suffered by her hands, and I would love to deal with that in some kind of therapy at some point. But I also wanted to tell her that I held her to a standard that wasn't right. And she's a human being and entitled to make mistakes. And so, you know, mothers are held to this thing, and sometimes maybe it's not the best to do, you know, like that. And I held her to this standard that a lot of women are held to, like they're not able to be sexual beings or stuff like that. And so I just needed to tell her that for myself. Whether she hears it or not, I don't know. But you asked what she's like. She's like everything I'm running from Oregon. Like, you know, like I married my wife. I married my mom. So it was like I tried to save my mom. Like it's all these weird, it's like probably very typical psychobabble,
It's quite Oedipal.
Yeah, well, that's the deal with most people. That's what my psychiatrist says. She tells me she married her mother. So, and so, that's how it worked out. And, I'm constantly, back in my younger days, I was constantly, I would work within the stripper porn culture, and I'm always trying to save a woman, and that's basically me trying to save my mom. And, what can I do? Sum it up by, horrible narcissist, only into herself. I doesn't really hear what you're saying or doesn't pay attention to you or your needs, just her own. That could sum it up pretty good.
When you say you married your mother, is it what your mother was when you were a child or what your mother had been throughout your life?
Well, I don't really remember the child part of it, but I would think it's just she was, I think sometimes people's characters are their characters, and it's hard for them to break those characters. Like I wonder if sociopaths, let's say, are part of our species, and it's been bred out now. We no longer need them, so they very much shine. Like it's like, man, you're a fucking sociopath. Get the fuck away from me. It's not acceptable anymore. So they have to be medicated or dealt with in a therapeutic way to fit into our society. And so I think she's of a character, and I think maybe the extreme narcissist, the pathological narcissist, it's in their character. They're part sociopath, psychotic, whatever. I'm not a doctor like that, but they're dangerous. And they shouldn't be given the keys to the car. They're going to fuck things up. And they shouldn't be having control of kids because they fuck them up. My character, part of us working together is definitely Carmi and all the women who helped me out. But I think part of my character is what saves me too. I have a weird character that my psychiatrist again says I'm naive, and my naivete is almost pathological. And I said, well, you see the artist side of me and you see the nice side of me, and my dark side can come out too. But she says I have an intense naivete, intense questioning of things and wonder. And anyway, I wasn't able to have that as a child, It was like, this.
So perhaps trying to make up or an overcompensation?
I did raise my brothers. I was the adult in the home, yes. So I think I acted juvenile to a late stage in my life. Certainly.
I understand that. I didn't get to enjoy a lot of things that other teenagers got to enjoy because I was busy doing other things. And I partied really hard in my early 20s. I think that I tried to fill my life with too many social engagements and got too wrapped up in always being surrounded by friends and doing things social because I had no social life.
Yeah, something like that. So my grandmother, I spent her last Christmas with her, and I asked her, tell me the truth of my life. Tell me what you saw as a child, when I was a child. And she basically told me, like, my mother and father were people who just dropped me off at their home all the time and went out, like those parents that do that. They don't hang out with their kid ever. And so she's like, but me and your grandfather loved you. And I said, are you saying my mother didn't? And she goes, I would never know. And she's saying that about her daughter. And so to me, that's a no. But grandma was cool. It was great to spend the last couple of weeks. I spent 2 weeks with her, and then she passed away a year later. And she watched Westerns all night, and I used to hate Westerns. But I love them now. I think of her. And I thought back when she would tell me stories of going to her house, and how Grandpa would teach me how to make pancakes or cake, and because he was a baker. And I'd go to the bakery with him, and I'd get to scoop all the chocolate donut icing out and eat it off the thing. And so I had all these, they were very nice to me and loving to me, yes. And I'm glad my grandma told me the truth, told me what happened in my childhood that I didn't remember, because that answers help me. I don't know if it helps other people, but answers help me understand things. And then when I went to Lubbock, Texas, I was born in a trailer park in Lubbock, Texas. And I went to the same trailer park, and my name's Shane. And so people always think I'm named after this movie, this cowboy movie, Shane. But my father once, when he was drunk, he said, "You were named after a little fucking chihuahua I like to kick in the trailer park."
Oh, my God.
Well, this is my life. And so I go to this trailer park, and it's full of chihuahuas. Like, there's like 30 chihuahuas running around. So I start asking questions, and this one guy's like, "I lived here back then." He's an old guy, comes out. And he's like, "I remember Shane the dog. I remember. I don't remember your parents, but I remember that." And he goes, "You know what I do? I think they were in that trailer." And I go check out the trailer, and it was the same in the photos that my parents had. So I saw this trailer when I was a baby. And then this woman comes out of a trailer. And this is where some compassion came from my mother. This woman comes out of the trailer, and she looks just like my mother from 1968 with the big bouffant hairdo. Mm-hmm. And the stupidest eyes. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but dumb. Just butt fucking dumb.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be rude, but, someone who's just watching TV and doesn't read books and, whatever. That's the deal, okay? She comes out, she's holding a child and chewing gum and looking at me, and the dumbest looking. I'm like, "Wow, you look just like my mother." And I go, okay, I get this now. I sort of get this now. My mother was, you're my mother, aren't you? You're like my mother. You're, and not the smartest person. And because I had a high intellect, like I was brought by teachers. I don't know if I ever told you this, but teachers brought my parents in one time and told them I had a genius IQ and I should go to a special school. And my parents thought that meant I was retarded. Oh. And so they were mad at me. And the teacher said, "Just remember how smart you are, Shane." And so I think a lot of times that's why I was picked on so much by my parents, because I was smarter than them at like 8 years old. I was moving fast and smart, and
the narcissist can't let you surpass them.
Right. And it was sort of like, right. It bothered them really immensely. And I was I was just like, I didn't mean to be smart. I'm sorry. That's how I felt as a child. And so I played dumb for most of my life, like a stoner metalhead. I had to play dumb in my marriage even. So
it sounds like it was a coping mechanism.
Well, there's a lot less pain when you're hanging out with people of your zip code and you're smart. If you show that, you get hurt. So, "Hey, dude, let's smoke a bong, bro. Bruh," whatever. It's like I just had to conform to a juggalo, and I love juggalos, and I'm not putting anyone down.
Whoop,
this is the way it is, and you should know that. If you're a juggalo, listen to Frank Zappa. He's smarter than the guys in ICP. It's just how it goes. And anyway, so I've had to play dumb, and that's part of the boundaries that I learned in therapy. It was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to be myself, and I want to feel what that is, because I've had all these layers and all these shells and all this shit on me. So I just want to see who I am finally.
Good for
you.
Feel who I am. It's very nice to meet you then.
Oh,
it's nice to know you as someone who's showing how smart you are, not someone who's acting like they're dumb. I can't help but wonder, maybe seeing that kid with his mom at that trailer park maybe made you want to give him a hug and tell him, "Get the fuck away from this trailer park as fast as you can. You're coming with me, kid." But I think that the role of playing dumb to survive is very relatable for women. A lot of us have had to do it. In a strip club, you can't be a smart stripper. No one wants to give money to a smart girl at a strip club, and it's very unfortunate that it's that way. And if a guy is acting like they value you as a smart woman in those environments, it's because he wants you to come out to the parking lot with you. Or fedora wearing nice guys. And so to play dumb to survive is a smart move in so many circumstances, unfortunately. And I think today, and post Me Too movement, a lot of us have had enough. We're not going to take it anymore. And so we twisted sisters have to get together and, be done with that. And it sounds like you definitely can relate to that.
Well, and when we talk about the Me Too movement, there's a lot in there that I related to, and it's hard to communicate that right now, so I'm going to wait till that episode. But certainly that was one of them. I related to a lot of the woman's plight in my marriage and other things, and that's borderline humiliating to say. It's very hard as a man, and the expectations we have by a large group of people, it's hard to put that out there and my emotions out there. But the artist inside me overrides everything. And so if I don't have my honesty, I stagnate in my art. And I listened to that recording that we did the other night, the Elves and the Shoemaker. That's the first time I've ever been able to read with feeling. And I thank you for that. Like, I felt it, and I was able to read calmly, and it's the first thing I've ever liked that I've heard my voice. And that's me starting to come out.
That's really nice to hear. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Shane, I sincerely thank you for your bravery of coming forward, speaking your truth, giving some of these women a chance to shine with you. And next time, we're going to release a episode regarding Me Too and a little bit more about women. # where my witch is at.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and tune into our next episode wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. You can find us at Speak of the Devil Pod on Twitter and contact us at speakofthedevilpod@gmail.com. For Shane's artwork or to support his endeavors, please visit shanebugby.com or find him on Twitter at ShaneBugby. I've been Nannerl. Have a good one.
Oh, and shaneisthedevil.com.